Drugs. All of us have learned about drugs in one way or another, whether it be through programs such as DARE or just your family and friends. Now, I'm not here to say that drugs are good and all of you should go try them. Please don't take that away from my speech. I just do believe there are some major possible benefits to legalizing the soft drugs. Like it or not, drugs are a part of all of your lives, even if you are not involved in the illegal activity they entail. You are affected by the criminal or crime rates that they raise in your society. Now, I myself have never done any of these currently illegal drugs, so I cannot speak from experience on how things like marijuana affect you, but I do know enough to say the least that potheads are not one of our major concerns compared to things such as holes in our ozone, nuclear warfare, and other world problems. Some of you may have strong feelings when it comes to drugs, as you have seen the causes of addiction firsthand, how they can tear a family apart, things like that. Today I'll be talking about addiction and why we should be treating it like a disease. Then I'll move on to why making drugs the problem is the problem. And I'll finish by talking about some of the benefits legalizing drugs could have in America. The effects of drugs in the United States are greater than many believe. Let's start by talking about addiction. Addiction is viewed commonly as nothing more than a problem, and we should be treating it as a disease. This would create a more successful rate in stopping people from being addicts. Throwing addicts in jail is not the solution we need. That is nothing but a fault on the taxpayers of America. According to the Federal Bureau, 12% of the 14 million arrests made in 2008 were all marijuana charges. That's approximately 1.7 million people who were incarcerated for a drug that could easily be legalized. To put that in perspective, that's roughly $60,000 a prisoner per year. So take that times 1.7 million, and that's how much you're spending in your tax money to house these people. Not only illegal drugs are what feed addiction, the opioid crisis in America is fueled by your medical care providers. The U.S. opioid epidemic claims that doctors are almost forced to prescribe opioids simply because they're more cost efficient than things such as physical therapy and whatnot that could take away from your pain. There are many families that are destroyed by these opioids, and it is very sad to see that they could be stopped by simply not prescribing them as much. In an article by the Center on Addiction, 20 to 50% of substance abusers all have a chronic disorder. This means that they have a progressive relapsing disease that requires intensive care and constant monitoring afterwards, as they can easily slip right back into addiction once they escape it. And as you can see, our prison system does none of these things for these people. Now that we've talked about addiction, let's talk to why making drugs the problem is the problem. All popular drugs are illegal. This forces anyone who wants to get their hands on them to get involved in crime. Now, I'm not saying all illegal activity would be abolished, but legalizing things such as marijuana would lower a lot of, or would take drug dealers out of jobs and force them to do other things. Money behind drugs is obviously a huge deal. So great that our own government couldn't keep their hands off of it. A sudden surge of cocaine on the Los Angeles streets was a telltale sign that something fishy had happened. In an article by Gary Webb, it was clear that all the evidence pointed directly to the CIA. CIA had used cocaine and the profit made out of the Los Angeles streets, and they shipped all that money to Nicaragua to fight in a to fight guerrilla warfare. And as you can see, Congress would not be willing to fund that in the first place, so they resorted to drugs to do it. Now, if these drugs would have been legalized, they would have not been able to put the American people at risk and would have had to find other routes and scams to get that money. As stated before, there's lots of money to be made with legalizing drugs. Let's talk about some of the benefits legalizing and commercializing soft drugs in America could have on our economy. There are obviously tons of tax dollars to be made with legalizing drugs. Theoretically, the crime rate should drop. With these tax dollars we make, we can help make new facilities that help treat people with addiction. As many of them don't get the help they need, or they are in hiding because they are scared that once they come out they will be sent to prison or whatnot because they know what they are doing is illegal. With all the problems drug cause, legalizing it is a scary thought, but overall the benefits are too real to ignore. Today we talked about addiction and the power it holds in America. We then moved on to why making drugs the problem is the problem, and finished by talking about the benefits of legalization and commercialization of drugs. Although I understand the majority of you have little to no effect on legislation, I hope I have shed some light on the legalization of soft drugs, and I hope you now know what you can do to help those who are, I hope you know what you can do to help slow the disease that is addiction. Thank you.